Hello everyone, and today we're going to be taking these brand new quarter window scoops and installing them on this beautiful Kona Blue Mustang, but we're going to have to do a little bit of painting first. Now for those of you who are curious of which paint color you're going to need, go ahead and open up your door, look on the door jamb, and right there where it says external paint, that's the paint code you're going to need to order paint. So now let's go ahead and get some prep work done. Go ahead and grab some 1000 grit sandpaper and a sponge, and we're going to wrap the sandpaper around the sponge, just get a nice little smooth surface. And then some soapy water, and we're going to go ahead and douse the whole scoop in soapy water as well as the sponge and sandpaper. And the whole idea is we just want to scuff up the surface just so we have something for the adhesive promoter to stick to. And now that the surface is all scuffed up, let's go ahead and grab some water, and we're going to go ahead and rinse off all this soapy water that we left behind. And the whole idea is I just want to go ahead and rinse it off and make sure it's nice and clean, and then we'll go ahead and let it sit out in the sun, that way we can let it dry out. And while those scoops are drying, let's go ahead and set up our paint area. So I have two 9x12 drop cloths. I'm going to go ahead and stretch them out in the back of the bed of this truck. Basically make a little mini paint booth. And all I'm going to use is magnets and painter's tape just to keep it in place. So I'm using the magnets for now just so the wind doesn't blow it away until I get my painter's tape adhered to it. And the bottom looks pretty good so far, not too shabby. And then I can throw on the top drop cloth just to act as cover. This will keep leaves and bugs out of there, as well as keep dust from blowing onto our parts while we're spray painting it. And I think we're about finished. That looks pretty good. And now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and grab our scoops. And then of course grab some IPA and a microfiber cloth. We're going to go ahead and douse the microfiber cloth in some alcohol. We just want to get it nice and drenched. And let's go ahead and wipe down these scoops just to make sure there's no soapy residue left behind. And before every paint job, you always want to grab a tack cloth and go ahead and wipe down whatever part you're working on before spraying it. This will make sure there's no lint or any dust left behind. This is basically going to give you the smoothest finish possible. Alright, now let's go ahead and grab some adhesive promoter. And we're going to go ahead and shake it for 2 minutes. And go ahead and grab a shop towel, wipe your nozzle off, and we'll do a little test spray to the side. Yep, looks pretty good. Wipe it again. And then I'm going to start spraying before the part and continue till after the part. And I want to contour to the part, so as it curves, I want to curve with it. And then wipe the nozzle off periodically as you're spraying. And nice, even, clean coat. So I'm going up and down. I want to go along the edge. Make sure we get every piece. And now I'm going to go left and right. So anytime you go up and down, then go left and right. And nice, even coats. And then we'll do the second part as well. So our plan is to do 1 coat of adhesive promoter, 3 coats of primer, 3 coats of base coat, and 4 coats of clear coat. And of course, every time we spray, we drop the cloth down just to protect it from the elements. And now that 10 to 20 minutes have passed, we're going to bring the parts right back out, and we're going to take some Sandable primer. This is black Sandable primer, and shake it for 2 minutes. And then go ahead and pop the top off, wipe the nozzle off, and same thing as last time. Do a test spray, wipe the nozzle again, and we're going to start going up and down. And this is nice light coats. So the first coat you do, you want to make sure it's nice and light. Wipe the nozzle again, get my edges. And then we're going to go side to side. Start before the part and after the part. And then we'll go ahead and tuck that one under and do the second one as well. And after 5 to 10 minutes have passed, we're going to apply the second coat. And this one's going to be slightly thicker than your first one. And then go ahead and wait another 5 to 10 minutes. And we're going to apply our third and final coat, which is going to be your thickest coat. You want to make sure you have every inch covered. And after 30 minutes have passed, the primer is dry. So let's go ahead and grab our 600 grit sandpaper and a sponge. I'm going to wrap the sandpaper around the sponge, then grab our soapy water, and we're going to douse everything. So douse the sandpaper and douse the part in soapy water. You couldn't have enough. And make sure everything's nice and wet. And then we're going to very lightly sand the part. You want to make sure you go nice and light. You do not want to be heavy-handed on this part. You want to keep the primer on there, but you want to go ahead and smooth out the surface. And take your time on this step. This is where patience really pays off, so go nice and slow. There's no rush at all. And then with your hand, you can check to see if it's smooth, and if it is, you're in great shape. And if there's a rough surface, you can go ahead and sand it down until it's nice and smooth. And now with the wet sanding complete, we can go and rinse off the part. So you can grab your water and a microfiber cloth, and we don't want to rinse off all this soapy residue we left behind. And I'm also going to turn it over and get the backside as well, just to make sure we get every nook and cranny clean. And then we'll go ahead and let this dry out in the sun. And with both scoops dried out, let's go ahead and grab some IPA and a microfiber cloth, and we're going to douse this microfiber cloth, make sure it's nice and wet, and then let's go ahead and clean off these scoops. Same thing as earlier, we just want to make sure there's no soapy residue left behind, so that way the base coat has something to stick to. And of course, let's go ahead and grab our tack cloth and go and wipe down the part. This is also because sometimes these microfiber cloths, especially the cheap ones, do leave a little bit of lint behind, so you want to make sure you pick that up as well. Alright, now we're getting to the good part. Now we get to apply our base coat. So we'll shake the can for 2 minutes, do a little test spray, wipe the nozzle, and same thing as last time, going to go up and down, nice even coats, and you want to start very light. Get our edges, of course. And I'm sure you noticed I placed the part on a box just to make sure it's suspended. That way I can get every edge perfectly covered without missing anything. And then of course we're going to paint the part left and right. And then we'll place this part right under the drop cloth and then grab our second part and paint that one as well. Now just an FYI, anytime I do one part, I'm always doing the second one with it. I'm just not showing it. So just keep you in the loop. And after 5 to 10 minutes have passed, now we can apply our second coat. And this one's going to be a slightly thicker coat, and we're going to go through the same process, up and down, and then left and right. Place those parts under the drop cloth, wait another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to apply our third and final coat, and this is going to be your thickest coat, so make sure you have every inch covered and there's no area that's thin. And after 30 minutes have passed, the base coat is dry, so let's grab our tack cloth one more time and go and wipe down the surface. This will make sure there's no dust that's settled on there while it was under the drop cloth. And again, make sure the area is nice and smooth and clean. Now let's go ahead and grab our clear coat. This is a 2K clear coat, so we're going to shake it for 2 minutes. And now on the top of the can, there's a red cap. You want to take it off and apply it to the pin at the very bottom. Let's see if I can get that on there. There we go. And then we're going to press down very hard until you hear it snap. There we go. And I'm going to press several times just to make sure the hardener mixes in. So I'm going to hold it down, just like so. And press it a few times. I want to make sure that hardener does release all the way. And I'll put that red cap on the top, and then again, shake for 2 minutes. And then we'll do our test spray. We'll wipe our nozzle off our towel. And same thing as all the other coats. We're going to do a nice even coat. And this one needs to be very light. Now when using this product, please make sure you have a respirator on. It's very important that you have it for this particular product. And of course, I'll do left and right and up and down. And this is going to be a very light coat. You want to make it very tacky so that the next coats stick very well. And after 10 minutes have passed, we have a nice little tacky finish, and we want to apply our second coat, and this one's going to be slightly thicker. Again, up and down and left and right. Try to place it under the drop cloth. Wait another 10 minutes, do our third coat, and again, this is going to be slightly thicker. And I'm trying my best not to drop these when I put them under the drop cloth. So now that 10 minutes have passed, we're going to apply our fourth and final coat, and this is going to be our thickest coat. So don't hold back, just make sure it's nice and even.
24 hours later.
So after 24 hours have passed, let's take a look at our part. So far, this came out looking really good. It has a very beautiful shine. This 2K clear coat is very impressive. Now looking at it closer, you can see a slight orange peel. That's completely natural based on the angles I was painting it. Now at this point, if you're happy with it, you can skip ahead and go ahead and install it on your vehicle. Now me, I'm going to do a little bit more work to it, just get rid of this orange peel. So we're going to start by wet sanding it using 1200 grit sandpaper and a sponge, and of course our soapy water. We're going to douse everything in soapy water just to make sure everything's nice and saturated. And you want to very lightly sand the surface. You want to go very easy. You don't want to get this edge right here too much because it will take off your clear coat and paint. And as you sand everything down nice and smooth, go ahead and step it up to 1500 grit sandpaper because you want to take those scratches and smooth it out as much as you can. And at the very end of the sanding process, I always check the sandpaper and there's no blue on it, which means we didn't sand through our clear coat. So now we can rinse off the part. So I'm going to grab my spray bottle that's filled with water. Now I just want to rinse off all those soapy residue we left behind. Make sure it's nice and clean. And just to accelerate the drying process, let me grab my microfiber cloth, wipe it down, and let this sit out the sun just to dry it out. And doing a field check, it looks nice and smooth. This came out looking really good. Now let's go ahead and restore that glossiness. So I'm going to grab some Meguiar's Ultimate Compound, microfiber cloth, apply a little bit of that compound on the cloth, and we're going to go and apply just a nice thin coat on the part, and we're going to do circular motions. And then after you do this for a few minutes, go ahead and take a clean microfiber cloth and wipe it away. This is going to require a little bit of elbow grease. And we'll take a close look. Little by little, we're starting to restore that shine. That's a good sign. Alright, now that I showed you how to do it by hand, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to grab my drill and a buffing pad, apply the same compound, and we're going to put little dabs all over the part. This is just a miniature buffing pad. That's all it is to it. And as you're drilling, start slow just to make sure you distribute the compound evenly. Then speed up to max speed and go up and down and left and right. The whole trick is you want that buffing pad to be flat against the part anytime you buff. And take your time with this, just make sure it's nice and even. And of course I'm curious to see how it looks, so let me grab my microfiber cloth, go and wipe away all this compound. Take a look. Oh yeah, it's starting to look really good. It's starting to get a really good shine. And we're going to continue this process for a few more minutes just to make sure we have every inch covered. So after buffing this for a few minutes, it looks like we're starting to get a nice shine come back. That's starting to look really good. So I think we could go ahead and step it up to the polishing step. So grab some polishing compound, a polishing pad, and we're going to dab it, same as earlier, just distribute the polish a little evenly. Start slow, and go through the exact same step. We're going to go up and down, left and right throughout the whole part. And let's take a look. So this one area in the back I did a lot of, you can see how it has a very beautiful mirror finish. That look came out looking really good. That's exactly what we're looking for. And now that we restored all the shine, let's go ahead and clean off these parts. So let's grab some soapy water, and we're going to soak these down. We just want to clean them off just to make sure there's no soapy residue or compound left anywhere. Because if you look on the back of the part, you can see all the compound that got splattered on the back. So we're going to clean all this off. You want to make sure the part's completely clean. If you want to use a water hose, you can. The whole idea is as long as it's spotless. And now that the part looks really clean and all that compound's been removed, let's go ahead and rinse it off using water. And I have my little spray bottle here. Again, if you want to use a water hose, you can. And make sure every inch is covered, make sure it's nice and clean. And now I'll let this sit out in the sun just to dry out. Now we can start the installation process. So when you have these scoops, there is a left and a right side. So you want to make sure you have the correct vents for which side is which. And that's why I went ahead and set out. So you want to test fit this to make sure everything goes where it's supposed to go. And of course, before we apply tape anywhere, we want to make sure it's clean with alcohol. So we'll take these wipes that came with the parts and go ahead and wipe down every area where we're going to apply tape. And go ahead and put a generous amount on there just to make sure it's nice and clean. It can never be too clean when it comes to double-sided tape. And just in case your louvers or scoops didn't come with wipes, just go ahead and grab some rubbing alcohol and a microfiber cloth and go ahead and wipe it down with a generous amount of alcohol, which I'm going to do as well just to show that you can do either one. And just because overkill is underrated, these parts also came with adhesive promoter that was made by 3M, which is really cool. You rip it open and you apply nice thin coats to those same areas. This is really going to help the tape adhere to the part. Now you don't necessarily need this for some of your parts, but since this came with it, I'm definitely using it. And after applying a thin coat, we want to check on it, make sure it has a nice little haze. Looks pretty good, so this is ready for us to apply tape. So I'm going to start with our easiest part first. I'm going to start with the small vent insert, remove our double-sided tape liner, and then very gently line it up and just go and press down. Now this one's easy to line up because the hole matches with this part, so this one is actually pretty easy. So make sure it's in place, and I'm going to hold it down for about a minute. And we'll do the front vent as well. So we're going to move the liner. We're going to line this up using our fingers. So the whole idea is you want this flush with the front of the scoop. So I use my fingers just to line it up, and then press down for about a minute. And then let's take a look at it. Yep, this looks like it came out pretty good. So far, so good. And now we're ready to apply our double-sided tape. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it down on all the areas we cleaned and make sure it's nice and lined up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then we'll grab our scissors and just cut the ends off, make it nice and pretty. Beautiful. And we're going to lay some down on the other side as well. Sorry that my arm's in the way. There we go. And take the scissors and just cut that little gap out. Just make sure it's nice and clean. And then finish the bridge. Because if they're giving me all this surface area to use, I'm definitely going to use it all. And we'll trim that one as well. Looks nice. And then we'll do our ends. And just to make sure we have all our bases covered, I did order some extra double-sided tape just to apply to extra areas as needed. So these front inserts does leave a little bit of an air gap, and I want to cover that air gap. So I'm going to apply a little bit to the front, and then we'll trim it down just to make sure it's nice and clean. And with the parts prepped and ready to go, I'm going to move on to the vehicle, and the first thing we're going to do is clay bar the window. So we have a nice little lubricant and a clay bar. And I'm going to go ahead and stretch out this clay bar and kind of mush it down. Get a little bit of flat. We don't need it actually in bar status. spray your lubricant, and then go ahead and go back and forth, and we're going to clean off any dust that's embedded on this window. We want to make sure this is super clean. And as your clay bar gets dirty, you can always knee it over. Now let's go ahead and grab some soapy water and spray off the window. That way we can clean off all that detailing spray we used, and then grab regular water just to rinse it off. And for our very last cleaning step, let's go ahead and grab our alcohol wipe. And again, you can use regular alcohol and a microfiber cloth. And let's go ahead and IPA the window. And now for the step that requires fingernails, go ahead and remove the tape liner. And now we're ready to install the part. So I'm going to use the gasket as a guide. So the arrow on the left is going to help me position it left to right, and the arrow on the top is going to help me position it up and down. And then once I line it up, we're going to go ahead and make sure everything's in place. Everything looks pretty good. No gaps. Yep, looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go ahead and hold it down for about a minute. And of course, repeat the exact same steps on the other side as well. And just as an FYI, you might want to avoid driving for 24 hours up to 72 hours just to complete the bonding process. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe.